Now, from the front pages of your newspapers to your television screens, we bring you the captivating stories separating the noise from the facts, giving you the most accurate information available here on The Headliner. Now, I am your host, Kurtley Gwindi, and today we are joined by Lennox Makurumidze, who is a young but a seasoned journalist of note who deals with the topical and social issues. He is always there when it happens. Lennox, welcome to the studio.
Hi, Kurtley. It's so good to be here today.
And most definitely, we are happy to have you join us here on The Headliner. Now, your brief comment, you got there as it happened. What is your take on the Mbare Inferno?
I think there's nothing more sad than to see hardworking people be hit by a tragedy. It's devastating. It leaves a mark. There was an air of disparity, but you could see that despite their current situation, these people were still willing to fight to see the next day, and I think that's a testament of all Zimbabweans. You know, the want and the will to consistently produce regardless of the situation. The air and want to produce regardless of the situation, and we'll be tracking that and obviously having a bit more of your comments with regards to that matter. Also hinging on the headline that there is a resuscitation, it is coming back to life, so we do speak life now. And we do hope that we'll also get your experience firsthand as we get into the headliner. And as per normal, we will trek into the story that obviously, we firstly begin by looking at the headlines that we have been looking at this entire week, and we kickstart with the Sunday Mail, which is our discussion topic today, actually, which says Mbare vendors rise from the ashes. Now, the once thriving Musika market now stands as a scarred shell of its former self. Earlier this month, the raging Inferno reduced its vibrant stalls and bustling corridors to smoldering ruins, displacing an estimated 5,000 vendors and farmers who depended on the market for their livelihoods. And we will be looking at that story, obviously, with Lennox giving us an expansion of this matter and more. But we are going to be looking at the Chronicle once again, which is tagged One-Stop Shop for Vic Falls Road Upgrade. Now, government has set up a one-stop shop to house all key stakeholders to expedite the finalization of the concession agreement, leading to the commencement of massive rehabilitation of the Bight Bridge below Victoria Falls Highway. While regular spot pothole patching is ongoing to make 900 kilometers road traffic able ahead of a major upgrade, the government has already awarded the tender to Bitumen World as it moves to ensure the rehabilitation of strategic routing and the implementation, once again, of timeous beneficiation of the economy. And we move on to a headline within our own in-house productions, which reads from the ZBC News Online, disputes over music royalties. Now, a case of lack of professionalism. Very interesting topic here that I'll ask perhaps Lennox to chime in on this one. There has been a lack of professionalism in the music industry, and it has come under the spotlight following a number of disputes between musicians, producers, and promoters over royalties. It has become a regular occurrence in the music industry that artists and music promoters or producers clash after the production and distribution of music. Now, we are speaking on the backdrop rather, of many artists speaking about some royalties as well as matters and issues that were left unresolved and contracts that were never signed. We do know, Lennox, the issue of Dalroy Shewe that was trending this past week, who was speaking about the superstar hit that was never paid for, or perhaps not even given a single cent. But at the end of the day, holistically, I'll ask you this question. You are an artist in your own right. You speak high volumes to the creative industry through your different trades. Has there always been this issue now that comes where stakeholders perhaps use our creativity and perhaps don't give remuneration for it? I think, of course, to be honest, to be really frank and honest, yes, that has been what the industry has been. But then with the coming of internet and social media platforms, and it gives a certain level of autonomy and how can I put this? It gives power back to the artist. So now artists understand and are more knowledgeable about distribution, about how the fundamentals of products or merchandise move. So
has there always been this education, or it's only coming to light recently?
Recently, this is new information. You could not understand. It was put in terms that could not be understood. But now with places like TikTok, where if you literally input any information, it can be broken down to you like a 5-year-old. With the coming of things like ChatGPT, where you can ask it, you can even give it a contract and say, hey, ChatGPT, do you feel like this contract is fair for me as an artist? So there's now a lot of liberation for the artist to literally claim, distribute, run, and do almost everything by themselves. So currently there's a huge, how can I put this? There's a huge battle that's being fought with producers, distributors, because people now have easier access to the artist, and the artist now has easier access to the people, which now removes that middleman that was already there. So
I mean, Spotify,
yeah,
is there,
Spotify
Apple Music is there,
so
Deezer is there,
If you know, to make it a bit bigger, look at what Taylor Swift was doing to redistribute her music under her own label and her own rights. Because she had just finished her contract with her distributor. And I think as Zimbabwean artists in any form or capacity need to follow suit and take matters into their own hands of understanding the distribution of their work in any form, whether it be books, photography, music. But it's time for artists to take ownership and to take responsibility of how their work is being distributed and how much they're actually earning. Yes.
Spoken like a true artist. We'll be speaking to you a little bit later. And we take on our very last headline. This is from the H Metro, which reads, DNA tests and nail Madzibaba Ishmael in teen rape cases. Now, the leader of Johannes Masowe Echishan Orejena Pererenyika sect, Ishmael Chokurongekwa, appeared in court on allegations of raping as well as impregnating 3 14-year-old girls who are all his congregants, with DNA evidence linking him as the father of the children born by the 3. Now, a very riveting story, I must say. We had been tracking it here on the headliner, an appreciation of this matter, and perhaps we'll be bringing you more with regards to coverage from the H Metro as well as other sources that contribute to our program. On that note, we'll close off this very first segment, and we are going to be continuing the conversation, carrying further the issue around the Mbare Inferno, which did take place earlier this month. Lennox himself was a journalist who arrived on the scene post the Inferno, and we will be also giving you a bit of his coverage as well as photography that he managed to garner for us here on the headliner today. Please stay tuned and don't go anywhere. This is the headliner. Thank you, viewers, for staying with us. A very special edition of the headliner this week. And of course, we are tracking all things to do with matters that have been making it to the press, but bringing them to your screens. Now, my name is Kurtley Gwindi, and as alluded earlier, I am joined by Lennox Makurumidze, who is a seasoned, young but seasoned journalist who is taking over the reins with regards to his work, perhaps in the arts industry as a whole, not just in photography, not just in videography, but in many facets. Lennox, my schoolmate, pleasure to have you.
It's good to be here.
It's so good to see the growth. It's so good to also be tracking this story with you. Now, I did send you this headline, Mbare vendors rise from the ashes. Now, you saw the ashes. And perhaps this rise is now happening, but perhaps before we get into that, what was the experience? And I know we spoke about this before, but you got there and you saw a lot of people who were playing different roles within that structure. Millions of dollars worth of goods and property were lost through this Inferno, a fire that up to now is still a little bit questionable with regards to where it came from, but we are seeing developing stories come up with regards to how people are now coming back on their feet slowly. But you got there at the lowest moment. How was that for you?
I think, like, there was a deep atmosphere of disparity. There was pain. There was hopelessness. There was everyone you met was literally just saying, I don't know what to do, but I'm here because I need to figure out something to do. And when you understand that Zimbabweans are very hardworking people and every single dollar counts. Yeah, like Zimbabweans are people that really fight. Like they push through no matter what's going on. And then imagine, regardless of the situation, you pull through and all of that is taken in one night.
Because we understand, you know, some of the individuals, I think captured by you and your crew, some of the individuals were keeping such things as cash within some of those structures and makeshift, you know, trunks and containers. You know, some people were saving and, you know, depositing their savings in there. You know, let's not talk about the wares, the stock, the products. And, you know, there has been this talk now of the idea around even farmers suffering from this kind of loss, because, you know, Mbare is a huge market. It's not just products, it's also services, it's also, you know, fresh produce once again. Now, all that being put into perspective, what role has community solidarity and support from all these people who are playing a role, you know, come about into the recovery of this disaster?
Okay. I think it would be a disservice if we were to go to that without talking about. So the reason, if you saw my photos and the ones that I published and I gave out there, I was talking about the necessity of Zimbabweans coming together, without talking about the people who feel, quote unquote, obligated to help. As a society, as a people, as human beings. If we are able to talk about the disparities and the problems of the things that are happening outside of our country, and you hear that there are people who are facilitating to help that, what about our own people who are currently in such a disparity? How are we as a people, just a day-to-day Zimbabwean, if you're seeing such a horrific thing, how can you play your part to do a service, to help, to say, if I were me in that situation, how can my 50 cents, my dollar.
So that's the community solidarity. A GoFundMe was created, as some kind of, you know, raising awareness. And how far did that go? How had that progress come through to this point?
So I spoke to one of the vendors there. She was also being helped by some of the people who I put her in contact with. It's going really well. But what I was disappointed in, Kadli, is that this should have been bigger than what it is.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. It's not supposed to be your role to initiate that.
It is part of my...
Yeah, absolutely.
It is part of my...
But we do feel like there are bigger structures that should be a part of the same messaging.
This should have been a call to action to anyone that feels. This should have been a headline for every single day. People should have been knowing what is going on. But as a journalist, me taking these photos and putting them out there was me literally seeing that there's not enough people talking about this. There's not enough information about this when so many lives have been affected by this. But anyways, now going to the question that you asked me about recovery and how that is going. I think it's going well. Most of the people that I spoke to have been sending me messages and thanking me for the people that reached out.
Yeah.
I was shocked. People in the diaspora actually reaching out and saying, how can we help? You know, I would send them contacts of the people on the ground who are running everything. And it was amazing what people can do when they're informed and how important it is to inform people so that they know how they can help.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So things like the GoFundMe page, I'll be quite honest, I haven't done a follow-up on that and gone deep into that, but just seeing it that it's there is a sign to show that even people who are outside Zimbabwe who know the importance of Mbare are trickling in their influence and their help in order to make it better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And now let's talk about this government state of disaster. It's very interesting you've spoken about, you know, having larger structures also having a role to play. I'm going to call the kettle black. And perhaps let's talk about government structures and the declaration of a state of disaster, which was obviously enabling specific recovery efforts. Are you aware of any immediate assistance that the vendors received?
Okay, so I've heard, not experienced or confirmed, I've heard that the government was offering loans and efforts to help people come back from this recovery. Okay. And some of the cleanup that was done during that time was the community was facilitated by community heads and all of that stuff.
Oh, yes.
So I commend that. But again,
there's more to do.
You need to be there to understand the pain and the loss that these people had. They needed reassurance. They
I'm
needed,
sure some of the pictures are rolling.
They needed hope. We needed to come together as a people and say, how can we do more than just talk about loans, and how can we come together? I'll even throw it back to the artist. When I was saying, even on my post, I wrote, the artist community has taken so much from Mbare. How are they not doing a concert to say,
to raise funds?
We're raising funds for Mbare?
That's a very good idea. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah,
how are we? There's a lack of emergency. There was a lack of, for example, why did not any official come through, talk to these people, hear their stories, and participate in that? Participate in the mourning of all of this, to see it, to feel it. Because I think with the bureaucracy, we forget that these are human beings that need human touch. Do you get my point?
Absolutely.
And even when we talk about loans, currently we're giving loans to people who just lost their entire life savings. Do you see where the disparity is coming from? There's a bit of a discrepancy.
Yeah, I understand where you're going.
Yeah,
where you're going with this.
But at the same time, I understand that, you know, they're doing the best they can.
With what they have.
With what they have.
Yeah.
But now I'm saying a human aspect would have been to be there
and feel it.
Yeah. Talk to the people, understand them, hear their needs and their cries.
And experience it.
And experience them. And I think one of the things that social media has killed us is that we have become spectators to pain and we do not sympathize.
Okay.
So when you see something from a screen, I think there's a lack of humanity. There's a lack of an aspect of saying, if I were there, if I'm like Kudli Panama Wakachema.
I saw that.
Now.
I saw that.
And when you hear that, it does something to you.
Yeah.
It calls you as a human being to act.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very, very, very deep words there, and perhaps the empathy speaks to your presence on the scene. And perhaps let's delve into the ideas. And there has been ideas now that are being spoken about. As someone who's obviously frequented at the Mbare Musika, yes, the dilapidation and squalor is there. But there are plans rather, to modernize the Mbare Musika market, e.g. Upgrade the facilities. How do you think, or where do you think the impact with regards to the local economy and perhaps the local economy as well as improvement of the market's long-term resilience, this plan now that has been put in place by government to upgrade the facilities?
Okay, that's a very beautiful thing on paper, Kirtley. But I've got a couple of questions to ask. My first question is, how are the people who are affected by this going to directly benefit from the change? Because like you see a landlord refurbishes a house, and then they now start looking for clients that can pay
the
that
price
amount.
goes up. The price goes up.
The price goes up. You get my point. So my question is, what is the reassurance that the people who were part and who've been a part of this thriving ecosystem definitely going to benefit from these upgrades? That's the first question. The second question is, I think it's too soon for us to be talking about upgrades when we have real people who are still suffering. I feel like in the act of trying to revamp everything, we are forgetting the human aspect of all of this. Mbare is a place, but it is run by humans. And these humans are still, up to this day, complaining, suffering, and feeling the heat of the loss. It is amazing. I believe it's beautiful that we're talking about revamping and fixing. And even like when I went there, I saw Mbare working like a living organism to heal itself, which was beautiful.
From the Inferno.
Which is very beautiful. But you saw human beings coming in with their little stalls to still sell at those spaces because they still need it.
Absolutely. And that speaks high volumes to what is currently happening at the Mbare Musika, and most definitely we are now going to be on the perhaps upward trajectory with regards to its restoration, as we are still trekking this headline that is speaking to Mbare vendors rising from the ashes. Now, Lennox Makurumidze is still going to be joining us in the third and final segment here on The Headliner. Don't go anywhere. Thank you very much, viewers, for joining us in the third and final segment of Here, the Headliner, where we are tracking all things to do with the headline, which reads, Mbare vendors rise from the ashes. Now, the once thriving Mbare Musika market was standing as a scarred shell of its former self. Earlier this month, a raging inferno reduced its vibrant stalls and bustling corridors to smoldering ruins. Now, the source of the fire still unknown. Lennox, you are still with us, and perhaps there has been investigation, developing stories as to what happened. What actually happened with the fire?
To be honest, no one really knows. I asked as many people as I could, but you just hear people with certain claims, which are not facts. So a lot of people in the space, you also need to understand that these are hurt people. So they are claiming that foul play was at play, but you don't know. For the last time I went there, forensics wasn't out yet, so I'm not sure now. Okay. But yes, these things are tricky because you're playing with the lives of people. Yeah. We are playing with the lives of angry, hungry people. That's very problematic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get you. I get you. So perhaps let's talk about it rising from the ashes.
Yes. Mm.
And you know, there has been now a response system that has been. We spoke earlier about the state of disaster that was obviously declared, and the rapid response now. That was obviously something that was commendable on the side of the works of our authorities. You know, what does the rapid response to the Mbare disaster reveal about the resilience and adaptability of the Zimbabwean communities facing economic adversity?
Okay, so you have a couple of people coming in and helping out and seeing what's happening and how they can help.
Yeah.
For example, Ms. Muchangwa came in and, you
That's
know...
our Honorable
Yes,
Minister, Monica
yes,
Mchangwa. Yes, she did.
She came in, you know, to see what's happening and how we can...
So she also fraternized with the masses.
Yes, yes, she did. Yes, she did. And I think that's helpful because it gives people hope.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes just want to see someone out there who's not a part of them telling them that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then now in terms of this recovery, I love, like I said, I love how fast everything is happening. Most of the rubble was cleared out by the second day.
Okay.
And people were already putting stalls, just trying to...
I mean, that's their way of life.
Yeah, that's their way of life.
And you know, when we speak volumes to the resilience of Zimbabweans, you spoke about it earlier. You know, we are very much tenacious. Yeah, and even in adversity we rise. And you know, even in such an unfortunate incident, we did see media coverage. I think the power of the media. Now, you're a journalist yourself. You know, there's an interesting word I put down in my notes here: pixel poet. You call yourself that.
Yes.
I mean, you bring alive your words. Unfortunately, here on the Headliner, we do a lot with words in our scripts. But you know, when we're looking at media itself and your space, the place that your trade thrives, how has the media coverage also contributed to the resuscitation?
I think immensely,
Yeah.
immensely. I think I was shocked. I was beyond mesmerized by the way my photos had a voice to actually bring about change and help. Like, I think we forget the impact of what a mere picture can do.
Yeah, a picture says
You
a
know,
thousand words. they say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I had people in the diaspora saying, yo, how can I help? I had people in Mutare asking me, how can we be a part of this help? I had people from Victoria Falls saying, is there an EcoCash that I can send you money, and all of these things. I think media now more than ever needs to be, one, concise in it recording the happenings of our society. Two, media needs to be on the forefront of capturing the problems, the moments of happiness, the joy.
Whole, the full script.
Yes.
Yeah.
Media needs to facilitate people understanding exactly what is happening and why it's happening and how we can be a part of the stories that are happening in our nation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And there's an urgency and there's a need for passionate storytellers to be in this scene to tell these stories as authentic and as real as possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we commend your passion. You know, we're getting to see a lot of your coverage, the pictures, the moments. And perhaps let's delve into the resuscitation once again, the rebuilding, the reincarnation of Mbare Musika. It's a market. I mean, taking a look at the engagement from the thousands of likes you got on social media means that that place has impact. That place raised families. I know, like my own grandmother, she was a very huge part of that market at some point in her life, and quite rightly. the millions of dollars it turns over through bringing fresh farm produce, be it, you know, your wares, your furniture, your car spares and parts. You know, I even sometimes go there quickly and get some things. So, you know, it's quite important to understand how Zimbabwe should pay attention to this market. How can you say that there is, you know, there's an appreciation of the impact it has throughout, you know, your years of living? I know we're not too old, but you know, Mbare, you know, sometimes it's joy because it's not things we're used to, but at the same time, it's also, you know, how has that impact? You know, how have you grown knowing that impact that Mbare has?
I think for the first time, Mbare in a really long time has a voice, and a voice that is going to help us transform the way people see Mbare. I think it is time for us to claim and help in being a part of the bigger story of Mbare. And that doesn't even need for you to do anything except for be involved in the day-to-day exchange of money. You know, buying something from Mbare and understanding how you can be a supplier.
You heard that, Zimbabwe.
All of those things.
You heard that, Zimbabwe. Lennox said it himself. Let's go and buy from Mbare.
Yeah, like, and then also the recovery. Okay, so the major thing that I want to bring upon the recovery is that Mbare is an organism. I want you to understand when I say this.
Yeah,
Mbare is an organism, and you can see how almost like this organism heals itself as fast as it can to heal that wound, and it's almost like pouring itself medicine and building up
itself.
Yeah,
that's what you are seeing.
Yes.
That's how I like the mental picture you're creating. Yeah.
So with that, you can see how people sort of, regardless of the disparity, told themselves we are part of something really important, not only for ourselves, but we supply, we help, we are part of the GDP of the country, and
a massive part of it. Yeah.
So in order for that to not stop, we need to keep on going, regardless of what's happening right now. So you'd see them. One of the stories, you'd hear go-go's going like, I don't have anything and I don't have anything to sell, but I'm here because I need to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that is the story of rising from the ashes that Mbare has. It is refusing to die. It is refusing to end its existence because of a mere blaze. It is saying we are here, and I love the interruption of people now saying we cannot let this organism heal itself. There are doctors now coming in, the government trying to, you know, facilitate.
That's correct.
There is now the people coming in, that's go-go, coming in with hot soup to the living organism. You know, there are people now seeing that there's a disparity and we cannot let this disparity continue. And I think that speaks to the love, hope, and power that the Zimbabwean community has if it comes together.
Absolutely. I'm enthused by that. I'm enthused. And definitely the nature of the experiences that these people go through also allows us to have an appreciation of the formal sector, yes, but also the informal sector,
yes,
and the semi-formal sector. In your view and opinion, I know you have been on many paths within your journey and your career. How important is the informal sector? Is there, can you say there's a voice that needs to be amplified, or does the informal sector have enough of a voice? I mean, we do have, you know, the Ministry of Small to Medium Enterprises. Obviously, the Honorable Minister did go. We have certain sects that actually represent the informal sector. But there's, you know, the everyday kid who is selling 1 or 2 sweets by the side of the road. We have individuals who, you know, have buying and selling. You know, you can't really call that a formal job.
Yeah.
But they're doing the things and they're making things happen.
Okay, so Curtly, I've been saying this to a lot of people, and sadly, this is the honest but brutal truth.
Yeah.
The truth is that we are now coming into a new generation of
Entrepreneurs. Is it
Yes.
entrepreneurs?
Yes. It's a new generation of people who now have the buying power. So it used to be your mom and your dad who had the buying power, but you now have the buying power.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening. And if you have buying power, are you going to go to Bon Marché to buy for your groceries, or are you going to go to my tuck shop downtown to buy your groceries? So now we need to find a way for us to find a good balance between providing adequate information on Bon Marché and helping that tuck shop by the corner that you buy your groceries from to coexist in a way that benefits the whole country and people.
And then kind of streamline it into formalization.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how do we find ways of empowering Tom, who has a tuck shop, in order for him to create that into Thomas and Sons?
Thomas and Sons. Very good.
How do we how do we empower the next person who is selling tomatoes at My Chipo to have Chipo and daughters? How do we now create structures that enable any Tom, Dick, and Jack who is making $3 to figure out and say, I can streamline my income, I can save it, I can put it somewhere where I can grow it into a business, a recognizable business that can trade on an international level.
Okay, that's very fascinating, and most definitely, I think, insightful conversation here we're carrying with the Pixel Poet. So it's from Lennox, the poet, to Lennox, the photographer. What's next?
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I'm an expressionist. I'm an artist. I'm always finding ways to tell authentic stories of my people. And I think the last comment that I'll just give is that I hated taking those photos that I took because they feed into the stereotype of the African.
Oh, yeah, you said something about like the narrative is now being lived up to.
The broken tragedies of Africa. That's not who we are. There's so much more to Zimbabwe.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we face a tragedy, but I think this message, I'll give it out to Zimbabweans. There's hope, there's power, there's strength in everything that you do. You are important, you are necessary to the story of the world of life. You, not anyone else, not your mom, not your dad, you.
Thank you. Lennox, I appreciate your time. Where do we find you on social media?
Lennox the photographer, Lennox the poet. Just Google Lennox Makurumidze, you'll find me there.
Thank you so much, my brother, and I do appreciate the time spent here on The Headliner.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to having you again.
Definitely.
Real authentic stories, as you have seen, even within his discourse that he brought here on our special episode. And we were checking all things to do with the Mbare, Inferno, and as well as many other issues that we did look at with the week in review. Now, very exciting to have you view and as well as come and give your comments and contributions on our programming here on ZBC. Now, my name is Kurtley Gwindi, and it's always a pleasure to be coming to you every week with all the stories that are tracked here on The Headliner. Now, for this moment, it is a God bless Zimbabwe, God bless Africa, and God bless you. Thank you.